All right, well, it looks like we're ready to go. Thank you all for joining us. This is Stanford Data Science's third annual conference. And just give yourself a round of applause for being here. As people come in, there are some seats in the front. And if you've noticed, we don't have a lot of paper except for the notebooks in front of you. If you're ever interested in seeing what the rest of the day looks like, there are a bountiful number of QR codes today. There's ones on every table. There's going to be ones on the screens. We finally found a use for QR codes, and we're using them today. So welcome. We have a great day. In the afternoon, we'll have some interactive sessions. You won't be sitting and listening all day. And then a poster session at the end. Highly recommend that you stay for the whole day. We have some wonderful food. And first, I just want to thank you all for being here and for just being part of the data science community here at Stanford. Stanford Data Science is not a typical institute or center. We don't close walls and have everyone come in to be with us, but we try to go where you are and interconnect the great things that are happening on campus. And you'll hear a lot more about Stanford Data Science and what's coming up from our faculty director, Emmanuel, Candès, in just a moment. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank the volunteers who agreed to spend the day with us and help out with all sorts of manner of things. So Charlene, Emma, Aaron, Francesca, Hauji, Heather, Marissa, Parninin, Ross, Takuma, Raj, and Zach. Thank you all very much. Always have to thank the amazing Stanford Data Science staff. So Lynn and Maddie, Joanna, Elizabeth, they have helped tremendously throughout the whole thing. But there's one person that I want to call out in particular and embarrass in front of all of you who made all of this possible. And anything you like about today, almost certainly Laura Ventura had something to do with it. So a round of applause for her. She's our community manager, and anything that interconnects us today is something that she's put thought into. So thank you, Laura. And of course, thank you for those on campus and off campus who have helped support Stanford Data Science over the last 5 years, even before I started. Stanford leadership, the president's office, the provost's office, the vice provost, dean of research's office have been hugely supportive, financially, intellectually, emotionally sometimes. Individual philanthropy has been great. We really appreciate the support that we get from individuals and foundations, and our burgeoning corporate and industry engagements. So thank you for those of you who are here and looking into being part of Stanford Data Science, who have already committed, who are already members. We really appreciate you. We're not doing the NASCAR thing today and showing you everyone, but thank you very much. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the main event. We have a hashtag, so if you are on social media and you feel like it, tweet about it or X about it, or I don't even know what the verb is anymore. Most likely you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, and we have connections there, and we'll have some ways for you to get connected with us, particularly on LinkedIn. Silence your phones, if you would. We do have video recordings in process. If you do ask a question, it's possible that your voice will be on camera at some point. There are bathrooms. If you go out where you registered, and on the right, there are drinking fountains and bathrooms there. And thank you very much to Munger Catering for an a la carte for the food. And we'll be giving away all leftovers so that it won't go to waste. Anything else? I think that's it. So, without further ado, I want to introduce our faculty director, Emmanuel Candès. He's the Barnum Simons Chair in Mathematics and Statistics here at Stanford University. He's also a professor of electrical engineering by courtesy. He's an amazing researcher. He's won too many awards for us to put on a single slide. He studies compressed sensing, mathematical signal processing, computational harmonic analysis, statistics, scientific computing and applications of those things to a variety of different fields, notably imaging sciences. And so we welcome Emmanuel Candès to the stage and to kick off our event.
Thank you very much, Chris. Whoa. I have a very fond memory of the first two events, so I'm very happy to see the third. And I just want to tell you a little bit about where data science is at Stanford, where we're at the moment. And so first, I'm not the only one running this thing. I have an amazing team of associate directors. And Chris, the executive director, we have Russ, Kiara, Ramesh, all leading this effort with me. And so it's been wonderful to work with them. And basically, the vision for data science, you must be kind of familiar with it now. It's like we think at Stanford that data science has its highest or achieves its highest potential when it's cultivated in a sort of a virtuous cycle where the domain applications and the methodological innovation that you contribute to are in close contact. And so to realize these cycles, we need to break down barriers. And so the motto or the slogan we have at Stanford Data Science is, if it's not collaborative, it's not going to fit. And so we realize that data science is happening on campus, whether we exist or not, that's for sure. But the thing is, how can we be greater than the sum of our parts? How can we help accelerate and amplify the data science movement? And that's what we're being a little bit about. And I have to say that we have a great scientific advisor, that John Chambers, who is with us, will talk to us later today. And the model I have in mind for Stanford Data Science is kind of Bell Labs, where you put people together with different skills, and then magic happens. And I think yours are magical elements. So Stanford Data Science is organized around some pillars. Initially, we had three. First, hiring some new faculty members, and so they are going to be the intellectual leaders of this new field. They're going to replace me soon enough, so they're going to hold the keys to the success of our enterprise. The second is to foster a generation of new scholars. We have a very vibrant and successful data science scholar program that welcomes 25 PhD students at any given time. We also have 10 postdocs in residence, all through this interdisciplinary program. And the third are these interdisciplinary research centers. We have 4 of them. We're going to keep on growing this list, maybe achieve 6, 7. We'll see, it's depending on what people want to do. And so let's start with the faculty members. So we've been very active on this front. We've recruited 4 faculty members in the last 2 years. And so we're very excited about this. The first 2 hires were Laura, and we're going to hear from Laura soon. Laura uses machine learning to understand how humans acquire and understand language and sound. So she's going to tell us about our research. Laura is a joint appointment with the Department of Psychology and the Neuroscience Institute. We hired Brian He, jointly with Chemical Engineering. He's another exemplary faculty member who leverages data and machine learning to understand the evolution of immune systems. And what's remarkable about what he does is that he uses this knowledge to inform engineering of new drugs. We've hired Ludwig Schmidt, who will join Stanford in September, joint with computer science. He's working on the foundations of machine learning. He's assembling new digital data sets. He asks the right questions about replicability and the out-of-sample performance of huge neural nets. So he's a very exciting researcher. We're very happy with this. And last but not least, this year we're hiring Brian Tripper, joint with statistics, who also uses machine learning data and diffusion models to basically synthesize new proteins that are more stable than the one we currently have. And so we're very excited about this. And so we hope to make new hires in the future. We also have research centers. They are very, very active, and we have all representatives of all research centers. At the moment, we have one on causal science. We have one on open science and reproducible research. We have one on health We have one on sustainability, and you see the faculty directors. If I just pick one, for example, the Causal Center, it's very exciting because this is something that the academy is doing and perhaps less in industry, yet we see very strong industry engagement in the activities of the Causal Center. Basically, the center studies causality and methods for causal inference, and as you know, probably like policymakers, decision makers often face substantial uncertainty, and so they need to assess the impact, the causal impact of policies, and so the center is developing critical methods for assessing the causal impact. And so really all these centers embody the spirit of collaboration. For example, returning to the Causal Science Center, involves people from the GSB, from the Econ department, from the Door School, from the medical school. There's a lot of fruitful interactions, lots of activities. And as I said, they organize a lot of events, yearly events that are very well attended by tech industries and tech companies. So this is really in the spirit of what we're trying to do. Finally, and but not least, we have our new data science scholars. As I said, we have 25 at any given time. They're fantastic people coming from all 7 schools. They learn from each other. Some people know methods. Some people know extremely important questions. And so what's very exciting about this, in my view, is that we see collaborations that would have otherwise not happened. So we see methods students working with people who understand the key questions in their field, people who understand the roadblocks to methods. And so it's a very successful enterprise that we have workshops, seminars. And so I've heard from faculty and students alike a lot of good things about this program. And going around Stanford, I can see that these kind of activities are emulated by other fields. And so this is really cool to see. We hope to grow this in the future. The last thing is, well, we're trying to build a community. This is one event, but we have many other events to try to do some fun community building. So we have a distinguished lecture series. So in June, and please mark your calendar on June 5th or 7th, I forgot. June 5th, I think. We have Aviv Regev, who is in charge of all machine learning and data science at Genentech. And she's going to talk to us about the use of data science at Genentech. So it should be super exciting. We support women in data science. Of course, women in data science, you know what this is. They have their big annual event in March every year. We have events hosted by the centers, obviously. Every summer, we host Data Science for Social Good. It's a way for having young people being engaged in data science research, and conversely, to have like graduate students and data science scholars serve as mentors for younger people. And they work on very meaningful projects having to do with, I don't know, human trafficking, illegal animal farm raising, all that kind of stuff. And this is very, very successful as well. We don't have enough spots for all the students who want to join, but that's another thing we hope to grow. And then, for example, Chiara's here, and she's teaching a course on inclusive mentoring. So there are lots of activities to bring underrepresented groups in the data science sphere. And so there are lots of activities. We're trying to build communities. And I thank you for being part of all of this stuff. So more events coming. We have lots of events. As Chris said, we have a QR code, and that's a good use of a QR code. The last thing I wanted to mention is that we added one element to the mission of Stanford Data Science, and it's to advance the state of computing at Stanford. So I'm going to spend a few minutes telling you what we've been doing and where we're at. And so it's very clear that a university like ours needs to enable data science at scale. We're going to use a research instrument. We're way past pencil and paper research, and we need tools to actually process huge data sets and fuel scientific discovery. And so we took upon ourselves to advance the state of computing, high-performance computing at Stanford. And this started with a committee that I chaired 2 years ago, actually. composed of different members from the Stanford community, including John Hennessy, our former president. And so we recommended that Stanford heavily invest into a GPU-centric supercomputer to kind of do the research that you need to do. And so we were very glad that actually the university leadership followed our recommendation, and then we are now moving on to the next step. So we think that we're going to propose to build an instrument of research and education at Stanford, and I just want to tell you a little bit about that. So first, I don't think I need to convince this audience, and if I do, I have like essentially 30 minutes of uninterrupted talk to tell you about why we need a lot of compute power on campus to do a lot of cool research. Now, I can go through my examples, but I don't think I need to convince this audience unless I see a lot of people raise their hands. I think we're all convinced that we need this. Like, how are we going to do drug discovery and do in silico experiments without massive compute power? How are we going to actually explore the structure of the universe, where now the challenge is to run extremely sophisticated model about the dynamics and the evolution of the universe and compare the predictions of these models with petabytes of data acquired by telescopes each night without compute power? How are we going to design new materials without compute power? How are we going to advance the research of Laura, which we just hired, who wants to process huge amount of data to understand how we process sound? How are we going to advance the research of Brian, who needs to model evolutionary systems and be informed by this evolution to design new drugs? How are we going to do this without compute power? It's obviously impossible. And so I don't think I need to convince you, so I'm going to move to my next slide to tell you a little bit about what is coming. So at Stanford, we're going to soon have a GPU-centric cluster designed by NVIDIA. So this is going to be an NVIDIA machine. And its vision for Stanford data science is not only to bring hardware, but also to bring people who will actually be helping us use this hardware as efficiently as possible. So I think about this a bit as a Ferrari, and so we need to be a bit educated about how we drive a Ferrari. And so it's a very precious resource, and so we're going to hire also with this a team of research data scientists that will teach the Stanford community how to use this research. So the initial commitment from Stanford is of $30 million in cash, in space, hardware, and power for 3 years. Of course, we're going to need a bit more if we want to sustain this over 10 years. So this is just for the 3-4 years. And so we're hoping in the future to build partnerships with philanthropists that would be willing to help us to carry this vision past the first 3 years, or even to scale it up. So where we are right now is that we have an order in process. We put an order with a vendor. We are trying to search for lead data scientists to lead this team of research data scientists who will help us with the design, the refreshes, and everything that concerns the life cycle of our research instrument. We call it the research instrument at the moment. And if, by the way, you have anyone you know who might be a good fit for this position, we would love to hear from you, because we're searching for such an individual at the moment. So what is this instrument going to look like when it's coming here? So probably most of you know that NVIDIA has this concept called superpods, and a superpod, or it's a DGX superpod, is a bunch of CPUs that serve some GPUs, and so they serve typically, well, they serve 8 H100s, and so we're going to buy essentially 31 of them. So we're going to bring 250 H100s on campus, and you see the specs. And so, of course, they will be connected with InfiniBand so that we can use the vast expanse of this research instrument for big projects like stuff like AlphaFold, for example. Of course, it comes with storage. And so it's going to be located very nearby. So one of the good things about being at Stanford is we have space to put this. So we secured some space at Slack. And so we have actually an available space. And so that's where this machine is going to go. And so we had to actually upgrade the facilities because, as you can imagine, a beast like this consumes a lot of power, so we need to upgrade the facility to have the power draw that is necessary to actually power this thing. So this is using about 0.5 megawatt of power. So of course, 250 H100 is a great thing. It's a great start. It's not the end. We would love to scale this even further up, but that depends on the partnership that we could strike. So this is where we are right now. So when is this happening? So I said the order is in progress. And so if everything goes well, we try to do as best as we can with NVIDIA. You probably know that the lead time on these machines is very long. NVIDIA is quoting most people 14 months at the moment. But they promise that we'll get 4 months. In 4 months, we'll get the hardware. So this is when we put the order early March, so it should arrive sometime in July. And so then construction will begin. And that's going to take about 2-3 months to assemble this machine. And if everything goes well, then the thing will go live, well, if I can dream, late September, early October, basically at the start of the next academic year. Of course, it is all contingent on us receiving the hardware. Okay, so this is very exciting, and that's going back to what I was saying before about amplify and accelerate the data science movement. That's part of it. I think that if we want to maintain an edge in AI, in data science, in science in general, in major universities, we need initiatives like this. Otherwise, as Jensen privately told me, Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, we're going to have DeepMind define the research agenda, and maybe that's not what we want. So with these final conclusions, I want to say that this is a very exciting time for Stanford Data Science. We have 4 faculty members. 2 have started, 2 are about to start. Brian Tripper will join us in July. We're going to have, this summer, a new computing platform. We're very excited about this. And we're going to have a new building. So there's a lot of good stuff happening. And so I want to now pause, maybe take one question if there is one, or otherwise I leave the floor to Laura. And so I'm happy either way. So maybe we should move on. Like Chris, there's no Chris. Look, we go to Laura. Okay, so.